It's another Monday morning and 26 degrees Celsius in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
Maokbe, there's a seemingly comical sequence of numbers this morning. 26 degrees in Abuja, 27th day of October 2025, and it's 28 degrees in Lagos. Can you imagine that? Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Ayo Makinde. But I'm not sure that we have the same sequence of events in Lagos State in particular, while, the talk my colleagues mentioned about the building collapse in Oyingbo is something to think about. Thankfully, no casualties mentioned so far. We'll definitely, on Channels Television, bring you more information about that. They also mentioned the fact that there may be that blockade of the Third Mainland Bridge again today, which saw to a huge traffic some weeks back. But there is a backstory to that, as contained in a release by Mr. Femi Falana, SAN. On Thursday, October 25, the Honorable Justice A.G. Balogun of the High Court of Lagos issued an injunction saying that the Lagos State government should hold fire on all activities until such a time as some pre-action protocol has been implemented. It would seem like that wasn't done, because according to that report, in the dead of night, the Lagos State government authorities in the dead of night went and pulled down, according to that statement, about 100 buildings in that particular environment. And I think that is what has irked the people, and saying that they're going to block the Third Mainland Bridge today. Traffic advisory on one hand, but then it raises a question, a lot of questions actually, about precedent and the rule of law. Because in that statement put out by Mr. Femi Falana, he also cited the fact that this is not the first time that this is happening, that the Supreme Court ruled even against the military government of Lagos back in some 39 years ago, that such a thing should not be done. But here we are again. So perhaps there is some explanation by the Lagos State government, because we understand that the government has been duly served. So then, perhaps there will be the question mark, what exactly is happening?
Well, Ayo, I don't know. Your guess will be as good as mine. Nothing more is happening other than impunity, lawlessness, the fact that government knows that it will do this and nothing will happen. After all, who's going to sanction government? But I think we have the answer right there on Oworonshoki. If the people are on the streets this morning, even though at the end of the day, other people are the ones going to suffer the consequences of the actions of people who are upset, it is government who is at fault. Because if a court of law has rightly ruled or given an injunction saying that you should desist from further demolishing any buildings on Ajileru Street or Sosa Extension and Toluwalashe Extension located within the Itesiwaju Ajumoni Community Development Area, specifically in the Oworonshoki area of Lagos State, and gave, the area in which you should not do anything. They said approximately 30 hectares, pending compliance with the pre-action protocol as provided under the pre-action protocol for land matters of the High Court of Lagos. And the government had everything to do to make sure that this injunction of the court was upheld. Interestingly, the instance which Mr. Femi Falana cited, which you have also highlighted, happened within a military, junta. And here we are in a democratic dispensation, which is supposed to be the hallmark of the rule of law. The rule of law ought to be upheld. After all, what is government if at the end of the day it is not about the rule of law? And this is happening, then indeed the people, you might say, are justified in their actions. The unfortunate thing, though, is that I sympathize with the people who will be on their way to work, and you know how Third Mainland Bridge can get, on a Monday morning, who, are setting about their duties, who now have to contend with other people who are very upset about what has happened, through government and its agents. And now you're also going to get government government officials and security agencies who have to go out there and try and keep the peace. A peace that could have been kept if only law and order, a court injunction had been adhered to. I think that the Lagos State government has a lot of accounting to do, or at least, speaking up to do on this particular matter. They did really send out, up to 50 armed policemen. We understand up to 50 armed policemen and thugs who fired tear gas throughout the night to disperse those protesting the demolition and proceeded to commence a fresh demolition. Was this what truly happened? I think that somebody really needs to speak up at this time and let us know whether or not they received this court injunction and why it is that if indeed they did, or if they didn't, why it was that they would have been aware that, because there's nobody who can say that, oh, we didn't receive it. But then you are also aware that perhaps, nothing ought to be happening there at that particular time there. Or you can say, oh, they're not our people. Maybe they were not your people, but because you are in receipt of this injunction, you have a duty then, after all, what we have been told, when the court rules, it is the turn of the executive to make sure that whatever it is that the courts rule upon are executed. So you have a duty to make sure that the court injunction is protected, if indeed those were people that you don't know anything about. Either way, Ayo, we're still owed a lot of explaining, a lot of explanation.
I'm also concerned, and I hope they will also be saying something or two about that. The elected officials, the local government chairman, Marco, you remember the time we took this up initially, the local government authorities were saying they had no idea about it, at least the chairman, so we gathered. There is a councillor, there is a local government chairman, there is a House of Assembly member representing, there is a House of Representatives person representing. Let's say those ones are not even in Lagos. How about the ones that are right there, supposedly living among the people? Those questions should be as diverse as the people that we need to ask those questions. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we get into the issues this morning.
Welcome back. Well, indeed, we're sinking our teeth into the matter of the day, which is the appointment of new service chiefs. So just before we get to that particular matter, just to let you know that we're also keeping our eyes on the PDP Secretariat this morning, where we understand that some discontented or some unhappy party members might be paying a visit to the party Secretariat this morning to challenge the unanimous decision of a consensus candidate for the chairmanship of the PDP. So we're keeping our eyes out on the Secretariat. Our correspondent, Friday Okirigwe, will be linking up with us much later to bring us up to speed as to what is transpiring there. But to the matter at hand, it's certainly no news now that the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has appointed new service chiefs. On Friday, the news broke that the former service chiefs, led by General Christopher Musa, were relieved of their appointment, were thanked by the President, where new service chiefs were announced. And the new service chiefs, their names are, the new CDS is Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, who was the former Chief of Army Staff. So he was retained and then made the new CDS, and we know that for him to take on this new task, they're going to be decorated by the President. We expect perhaps sometime today, or at least during this week, given the fact that the announcement was made on Friday. So we should be seeing them promoted to their new ranks, because we know that the CDS is usually a 4-star general. And so Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, who is a 3-star general, will be promoted to a 4-star general, and so he will be a full general. At the moment, the course is Major General Waidi Shaibu. When he's promoted, he will be Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu. The new Chief of Naval Staff is Rear Admiral Idi Abbas. When he's promoted, he will be Vice Admiral Idi Abbas. And the new Chief of Air Staff is Air Vice Marshal Sunday Kelvin Aneke. And when he is promoted, he will be made Air Marshal Sunday Kelvin Aneke. Well, to discuss the implications of this elevation and the change, so to speak, some people said it was rather abrupt, coming on the heels of rumored coup, even though the what I say, Ministry of Defense, not the Ministry of Defense now, I'm trying to remember, let's just say the Defense Formation had denied very strongly the fact that, or will I say, they had denied very strongly the rumors of these allegations of a coup, and they had said that, look, the arrests that they had made were arrests of misdemeanors, arrests around discipline, not anything around a coup. Just to also mention that the Chief of Military Intelligence was also retained in his office. So these are all the things that people are saying this is routine. And if you read some of the papers this morning, looking at New Telegraph, for instance, they say service chief's removal, revised HTA COS provides for a tenure, a 2-year tenure. That's according to their investigation. The HTACOS is the harmonized terms and conditions of service for officers of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. But let's take a look at it. I mean, what are the implications of what this new reshuffling is? And if indeed this is inside the HTCOS, you know, what implications could it have for those who are removed and those who are now coming in? Joining us to discuss some of these things, we have with us this morning, joining us virtually, Mr. Tunde Ajibulu, who's a public affairs analyst and a member of the All Progressives Congress. Good morning and welcome to the program. I do not know if this came to you as a surprise as it did many Nigerians.
Good morning, Margaret. Good morning, Nigerians. Always a pleasure to be on channels. So I must say, I heard what you were saying earlier. And like you rightly said, the key word here you said was rumors, that there were rumors of a coup. That's just what it is. It was just rumors. The change of service chiefs is not sudden and is not such a surprise. It has been expected for a while, for different reasons. Now you have to understand, the three former service chiefs were members of the 39th regular force. They were promoted major generals in 2019. By December this year, they will have gone on their seventh. They will have been on their 7th year as major generals, and I mean 7 years on the rank. So it was always coming. So it is not a surprise, and I think mischievous people are just trying to link in. The Chief of Defense Communications has issued a very proper statement addressing these issues. So let's forget any rumors of coup. Let's put that aside. No, what has happened is in order, and it's a big boost for the Nigerian Armed Forces, because, I mean, after some time, you need fresh ideas, you need fresh injections. Ideally, I personally do not think service chiefs should spend more than 2.5 years. Ideally, I would even suggest 2 years, but I would say, okay, max 2.5 years. And then, yes, because there are other causes behind these people. And then you can't, okay, like we saw what happened in the last regime, where service chiefs stayed for almost 6 years, over 6 years plus. I mean, there was a lot of, and then no matter what, the longer you stay in a particular place, I mean, certain things set in. I mean, there's really no motivation again. So from time to time, there needs to be injected new blood, fresh ideas for things to continue.
Okay, well.
And then are we doubting the capacity and capabilities of the newly appointed service chiefs? I would say no. They are all thoroughbred professionals, as you can see, from the Army Chief, Major General YD Shuaibu, who is a member of the 41st Regular Force. You can see his experience. He was GOC in the 7th Division. He was the Theater Commander Operation Hadinkai. I mean, he's handled his experience, and then if you go through his resume, you will see that he's so vastly qualified. And then we talk about the Chief of Air Staff. Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Kev INEC, is a thoroughbred aviator. And the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, is a thoroughbred seaman and above water warfare specialist. And one of the exciting things that shows the insight of Mr. President in his choice of service chiefs is we all know that the Air Force and the Navy are more technical. than the army, basically. If you look at the resume of Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, you will realize he was chief of safety. Again, I'll repeat, he was chief of safety for the Nigerian Navy. If you look at Air Vice Marshal INEC's resume, you will find out that he was director of safety and evaluation for the Nigerian Air Force. So it shows the depth, the intentionality of choosing these people as our service chiefs. And as far as I'm concerned, they are fantastic, experienced professionals, and they are square pegs in square holes.
Well, you know, I really do wish, as I'm sure many Nigerians would, that we could just dismiss what is happening, assuming, you know, there had been no arrests made or, will I say, no detention of military officers as confirmed by the military authorities themselves. Maybe those would have just gone away, you know, just easily. But in this instance, for our correspondents who cover these beats, they have said this is not the first time that the military has arrested certain individuals in connection with, well, I said, disciplinary measures. Usually when these officers are arrested, they have their offenses listed, and it is very certain, or will I say quite clear, when they will be court-martialed, when the military process for court-martial will be done, and usually it is also subject to coverage. But in this instance, none of these matters have come before the press in terms of what these people are being disciplined for or what they're being held for. And there's been no talk of court-martial. So far, so good. So do you think that even though the military has been trying to say there's been nothing of the sort, have they done enough to actually ensure transparency and, you know, remove all air of the rumor hanging over the arrest that they have made?
So for me, I'm not a soldier. My military days are long behind me. But then I do know the military is an enclosed system. And I guarantee you, these things happen routinely. Officers are tried. I mean, it's discipline. Discipline is the fulcrum of the Nigerian military. Discipline. So when there are acts of indiscipline, arrests are made, investigations are carried out, and if need be, a court-martial and a punishment is given. So in this case, I don't know. So this, I think, is the case of this famous proverb that they say the old woman came yesterday, the child died today. You know, they say the old woman came yesterday, the child died today, so the old woman killed the child. So this, I just see this as a case like that. This is pretty routine. It has been happening. And if there's no court-martial yet, then investigations are going on. And it's not 1, 2, 3 people. It's a bunch of people. And then you saw they said it. Even soldiers are human beings. You can be disgruntled. You may feel you're not getting posted to where you're supposed to be posted. You may feel you're not getting promoted. Just like a banker can feel marginalized, anybody can feel marginalized. So it's I totally do not believe, and I still think it's mischief makers that are coming up and still are talking about truth right now. It's just a case of the witch came here, the old woman came yesterday and the child died today.
Yeah, but that's a question. We're refusing to admit that an old woman even came yesterday. I think that's the controversy here.
The old woman here is that a bunch of indisciplined, a bunch of officers that have committed various offenses were arrested. That is the old woman. The child is the appointment of service chiefs. And then you are linking that together. So the old woman, and this is, like I said again, this is routine. This happens routine. The military have their own system. It's enclosed, you know, and they run it and they organize it, and they've been doing it forever and ever. Court-martials go on all the time. Arrests are made. That's why they have their own police. They have their own intelligence department. So, yeah.
Indeed. I know you just said that your military days are behind you. I think the question I asked is if the military has done enough to make sure that whatever air of rumor was hanging around this has been cleared through transparency. Do you think that enough has been done transparently to dispel these rumors?
Well, I believe the Chief of Defense Intelligence gave a very categorical statement on the position of things, which I believe has addressed that issue. If there are other things, like when there's a court-martial, officers being court-martialed have access to lawyers now. Before, back in the day, that wasn't even the case. You had to go with a military lawyer. But now, you can get civil lawyers, so everything will come to light. Hello?
Yeah, please go on. I can hear you.
Yeah. So everything will come to light at the appropriate time.
All right, then.
But
so
okay, go on.
What do you think, then, will be the agenda for these new chiefs who have been appointed? You've pointed to their resume. You've mentioned the fact that the Chief of Air Staff and the Chief of Naval Staff were directors of safety, chiefs of safety in their respective formations. And this is what the challenges we're facing right now. Yes, we have safety concerns around our country, but it's based more around security, for instance, in the Niger Delta, where the Chief of Naval Staff or around our waters and our waterways. I don't know that safety might be a huge concern, especially for the Air Force, but it's been more about security. It's been more about making sure that our waterways are free of pirates, of bandits, of all manner of people who are trying to infringe on our territorial integrity. So what exactly is the agenda? You are saying you see these people fit like square pegs and square holes, but given what you have also said and the challenges at hand, do you think that they fit the challenges we're looking at?
Yeah, 100%. And then you took that safety out of context. So when I said safety, we're talking about safety and evaluation, safety of equipment. Nigeria invests a lot of money in the military. So the safety I was referring to is the directors of safety. They know how to handle, how to take care, how to prioritize their equipment and make sure it's in pristine working order. And then back to what you said, yes, the former service chiefs have done their best to the best of their ability, and I believe the president will thank them for their services, patriotism to the nation. They've done their bit. This is time for fresh blood, fresh ideas, and this is why these people have come on board. I don't know their manifesto. They will reveal it, but I guarantee you they're going to build on what they've met and inject new ideas and do the best in their capacity to secure our lives, secure our waterways, and denigrate banditry and Boko Haram.
Well, I'm not the only one on this conversation. My colleague Ayo in Lagos is also here as well. So, Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, Mr. Ajibulu, just one or two issues are playing on my mind. Since the appointment was announced, since the announcement of the reshufflement by the president, there's been a lot of hue and cry about whether it is has connotations or whatever. The only thing that I could deduce from that is, again, the issue of trust. We seem to take for granted that the trust quotient is greatly depleted, and it will seem like governments, federal and state, aren't making any conscious effort to rebuild that trust with the people. So everything that comes from government, be it federal or state again, is usually taken with a pinch of salt by the people because of the greatly depreciated level of trust. Do you see that at play here?
I see, yes, that's a deep one. I see the point you are making, but then it's not a peculiar problem to Nigeria. It's a peculiar problem all over the world. You understand? And governments and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, his government and administration, I'm sure, are doing the very best to mitigate this and end the people's trust.
if that issue of whether or not there was a coup is something that is making the rounds, and we hear that some people have been arrested, just as you also said, you know, given that proverb from Western Nigeria, it still raises that question. A good way to perhaps even begin the conversation with the people, communicating with the people, is certain level of admission. At least trust us with a little bit of truth on this one, because the political class is all out and Nigerians are left in the dark. The political class is saying...
When you say truth, I don't understand. When you say a little bit of truth, are you alluding? I don't understand what you're saying on this matter. Are you saying the government is lying? Are you saying the military is lying? Are you saying they're not saying the complete truth?
Okay.
I need to understand that.
So what is the complete truth?
The complete truth is, like I said, and you've seen the statements, the Chief of Defense Information has given a categorical and intentional statement addressing these issues. Again, I repeat, the military has given a statement addressing this issue and to dispel the unwarranted rumors about coup plot.
Okay. Now, one of the other angles to this is the political dynamics. I'm not even in the space of those who are arguing whether there is a political balance in the appointments or not. I don't see it. There are those who believe that it is. There are those who believe that it is not. But it is in one of the things that the previous team had talked about, which is the fact that for us to have the kind of security we want, the political class needs to do what it needs to do, and so that the security agencies can do what they should do. For instance, one of the reasons for a whole load of insecurity is poverty. And there is a lot of noise being made about the political class, particularly in the states, needing to do what they need to do to mitigate the crushing poverty that the people are going through, so that security agencies will have less to deal with. Do you see any correlation or any responsibility for these service chiefs or anyone else in ensuring that this is done, so that we worry less about, or that the security agencies have to worry less about insecurity that they can predict?
The renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is tackling the economic situation in Nigeria. We have seen food prices have crashed drastically from what it used to be before. That is the standard that is there. And the military have from time, okay, so I'll tell you something that the military does, in case you didn't know. Once you are a major general across board, I mean the Army, Navy, and Air Force, you are given a certain sum of money to do something like a constituency project in your area. So it could be renovate a primary school, refurbish a primary healthcare center, do boreholes. So the military department of civil and defense relations are going, they're going the extra mile. But you see, these things are not publicized, so you wouldn't know. Every major general is given a sum of money and sent to, so in this way, so now you have to understand that soldiers come from all over Nigeria, 36 states of Nigeria. So you have major generals from the 36 states of Nigeria. Every crop of major generals that come, they are given funds. So there's direct impact from the military directly in 36 states of Nigeria. You know, this and many more other things are going on. And what's this for? To build trust, to show empathy, and connect with the people. So all this is ongoing. And we've seen so many other renewed hope agenda initiatives. NEL Fund for students. I mean, there's so many of it. It's work in progress, and we will get there. And the service, and this new service chiefs, I believe, will intensify what their predecessors have done in terms of gaining the confidence and trust of the Nigerian people.
Well, Mr. Tunde Ajibulu, there is so much, many other issues. Beg your pardon, Tunde Ajibulu. There is a lot of other issues to raise on this matter because this particular, angle of poverty is really all the president can do is create the enabling environment. We have a thought where just a second, where the state governments have a lot more to do because now they have more resources and there are questions around whether or not there is anything the federal government, particularly the president, can do to ensure that the governors do what they need to do. Otherwise, hey, but I guess we'll wait to see how that all pans out. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Mr. Tunde Ajibulu.
It will pan out very well,
public affairs
it will pan out very well.
And member of the APC. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Well, there are still a lot of questions about so many other things, one of which is the INEC chairman, the new INEC chairman, and a credible poll in the year ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, indeed, we're switching gears now to politics. And I did tell you earlier that we're keeping tabs on the Wadata Plaza, especially as we saw a message from former governor of Jigawa State, Mr. Sule Lamido, that he will be going to the PDP headquarters today, that's the Wadata Plaza, Monday, 27th October, that's today, at 11 a.m. He says he's going to purchase the nomination form to run for the office of the national chairman of the party. According to him, he says his commitment to democracy and resolve to restore our dear party to its old glory is unstoppable. Now, some people have said that this could cause some rumpus as before now, the caucus of governors had agreed on the consensus candidate. Alhaji Aminu Turaki was settled upon, we understand. He's from Kebbi State. Never mind. The PDP said they had zoned the chairmanship of the party to the north. We understand that there was a further micro-zoning to the northwest. And shortly after, we heard that there was a consensus candidate who had emerged. But however, that doesn't seem to be sitting well with a number of people who also say that they are interested in the race. But from what we understand, this might not be received likely. So today, this morning, we're keeping tabs on the PDP Wadata Plaza to find out exactly what exactly the mood is, if anything has started. Don't forget that this is supposed to start around, Mr. Sule Lamido is supposed to go there around 11. But our correspondent is right now on the ground. Friday Okerigwe joins us now. Friday, what exactly are you hearing at the PDP Wadata Plaza? It seems all has been peaceful so far, hasn't it?
Thank you, Mokbe. Just like the visual I sent in earlier, the place is actually very quiet. It's calm. Staff that normally resume their duties on a daily basis. On a Monday morning, we've not seen a number of them are here. So the place is quiet. But like you said, the coming of the former Jigawa State governor is supposed to be at 11 o'clock. So we still have more than an hour to that time. We're waiting for him to come. But we expect that when he comes, he has quite a large number of supporters who move around with him. So we are hoping we'll get, he will not come alone. Obviously, he will come with some supporters of his. And the intrigues we are expecting that will play out is the fact that tomorrow is a big commencement of the screening of candidates who have a purchase form for the various offices as far as the National Convention of next month is concerned. So if we go by the schedule of the party, the purchase of forms or expression of interest forms for various offices for the National Convention, the schedule should have, the purchase of the form should have expired, time frame for it should have expired by now, because the screening committee will commence the screening of those aspirants, those aspiring for those offices tomorrow, Tuesday, 28th. So we are just wondering if the screening is going to start tomorrow, 28th, because today is 27 already. How come somebody will be coming to purchase form today for the office or for the position of the national chairman? And like you also noted, there's been so much interest playing out since the PDP announced the date for their elected convention. You remember there are some state chairmen who who also took the party to court, are trying to stop the convention. We have other interest group, the national secretary of the party, who has also petitioned the security agencies about the signature that is allegedly forged. We also have a group that you refer to the other side, the PDP Northwest Caucus, who endorse the particular candidate as their consensus. We also have other group of PDP members from the similar Northwest who came and said, no, we're not part of this consensus candidate. So a lot of things have been happening. I was just looking forward to see how the party will resolve this whole issue. If at all, they will be able to resolve them before the national debate or the national convention. Don't forget, the convention is slated for November 15th and 16th.
Indeed, Friday, we certainly will keep tabs and see how all of these intrigues are resolved ahead of the convention. Well, do stay safe out there, and thank you for your reporting.
Thank you, sir.
Our correspondent, Friday Okirigbe, keeping tabs at the PDP Wadata Plaza, especially ahead of a purchase of form by former Governor Sule Lamido. Well, we're turning our attention now to the regulator of the political parties. Do not forget that only recently, Professor Joash Amupiton was appointed the new INEC chairman, and he has been sworn in and has now resumed office. So what exactly do we have ahead of him as he resumes work? This morning, we're joined by Mr. Peter Ame, who is the General Secretary, CUPP, and former National Chairman, IPAC. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm sure you're just as intrigued as we are about what is happening within the ranks of the PDP. Are you curious?
Yeah, I'm more than curious because the survival of opposition political parties is very critical to the survival of democracy, because it also helps to strengthen the democratic fabric of what we have. Because what we have today is that if Sule Lamido, who have, his fidelity to the party is, he has been there since 1998 and all that, and you should also know the rules and regulations of running a political party. If screening is supposed to start tomorrow, that means there'll be an already scheduled timeline for how sales of form, closing of the sales of form, and when the screening starts. And if there's any grievances he has, there should be a proper way to channel it through party organs, other than coming to show this level of anger. Because if he comes to buy that form,
anger?
Yes, if he comes to buy from 24 hours to screening, and probably they say, oh, time has closed. That could also fracture the very strong support he has given to the PDP. And we think that at this point in time it's not necessary. But whatever it is, the PDP must look inward, look at the party structure, look at the leaders of the party, whether the BOT and others, to try to to sit down with him and probably speak to him, because he's the most faithful party member that I've seen in the PDP. So he should be given accord all sense of respect and given that allowance to be able to hear his opinion.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But do you see this as INEC's problem, though? I mean, because we know that INEC has a responsibility to regulate political parties. This issue of their convention, etc., does it fall under INEC's purview?
Yes, it is INEC's responsibility. INEC is not just responsible to organize, conduct, and undertake elections. They're also responsible to regulate and register political parties. They are the registrar of political parties in Nigeria. And this responsibility they ever have a department created for that, election and party management. So what INEC does, INEC also has a regulation that deals with party processes, party management, especially conventions and primaries. And if this convention has been set in motion, there have been court pronouncement that they say there's no court that should even stop a convention that is already in motion, just like somebody going to court and say stop an election that will be conducted on a certain set aside date. So INEC must take full responsibility, because some of this crisis shouldn't even have gone so deep if INEC had performed its responsibility as the regulator and the managers of political parties in Nigeria. Because if they have performed their responsibility, like clearly stating guidelines, one of the responsibilities of INEC is not just to go to convention or to go to primaries and then come out with a review. It's the fact that INEC must go to this convention, go to these primaries, go to this party NEC meeting, and then look at the decisions taken at those meetings and see whether they conform with the Electoral Act, the constitution and the constitution of the political party, including the regulations and guidelines as written by the subsidiary legislation created by the commission. Because the commission has this judicial quasi power where it creates all these kind of regulations and all that is also binding on the management of the affairs of the party. So if INEC is not taking oversight responsibility, doing it very well, or allow it to be undermined by political interference or principalities and power, then INEC further undermines the peace within political parties. So for me, the critical point as we speak today, we have a situation where this party have been in perpetual crisis, and the courts have not really helped because I've discussed with a lot of our friends who have been in party management for a long time. And we discuss and we say the court will tell you that the decisions and everything is internal affairs of political party that cannot interfere. Yes, we agree. There are certain extent, but the fact remains that if decisions that contradict the provisions of the Electoral Act, the Constitution, and the Constitution of the party affairs, the court has the power to interpret and interfere. So if the court decide and say, oh, there's a crisis in the party, go and solve it, how is it going to be solved when the whole place is already fractured? So INEC has the responsibility to look at the processes leading to the convention on the 15th and 16th. If these conventions are, following, the 21 days regulations that that is supposed to be, giving notice to be given to INEC has been met. If the committees that are responsible for the conduct screening committee, especially convention management and planning committee, if that has been set ahead of time, because there's a time, the least day that you can set up that committee is 7 days before the conduct of the convention. So anything after that 7 days, you have not given address of the vendor of the convention, you have not stated those committees that is responsible for the conduct of the convention, then the convention will not, have its proper place in law. So INEC has a major responsibility to set our political system right, and political parties are number one critical stakeholder. If you look at, you say civil society, these are just civil responsibilities that come to participate and say, oh, we want our elections to be fair. This is just, civil society that believes, that also part of the body of the society. But as relating to the conduct of election in Nigeria, as relating to participation and presentation of candidates, as stated by the Supreme Court, Amechi vs. Omeha, where they say the ticket you are holding belongs to the party, and it is the party that is on the ballot. So INEC has a major responsibility to see as a critical component of our democratic development. They must be able to look at how political party activities and the transparent nature of the management of the process, show up in the public glare. Because if INEC stays back and say the party should continue to be fractured and the party should continue to, come to a point where they come to a standstill and no activity going on, then most of these parties will have a problem, and you have a situation where you have a government in power that becomes so strengthened without an opposition to checkmate the activities and oversight functions of what the policies are.
I was going to ask what you would like the new INEC chairman to do specifically in that regard, because I remember the last time you were here, one of the allegations you leveled against the outgoing INEC chairman is the fact that he killed the opposition, so to speak. I mean, that was how you felt about it. So what would you like the new INEC chairman to do in this regard?
For me, he has to be very transparent. My happiness is that the new INEC chairman is a lawyer. He's not just a lawyer, he's an SN. He taught law. He's a professor of law. So in the legal department, there's always this issue where the legal departments end up interpreting everything. Because the INEC is about principalities and people who are beholden to several forces outside the commission. So he has to be careful how he deals with this issue, and that because he's a lawyer and because he's somebody who has invested and has shown the level of academic knowledge that has to do with legal practice. I think I'm a little bit cautiously optimistic that he will be able to look at whatever legal issues that are brought before him, because you don't have a situation where Supreme Court gives judgment, Appeal Court gives judgment, and there's this misinterpretation by the commission that further deepen the crisis within political parties. Because for the way the commission had operated over the years, when you have a situation where they say, oh, the chairman and secretary will sign, and then you have a situation where you say, in the constitution of the party, that in the absence of the national secretary, who is supposed to act, the deputy national secretary. But all these processes have been, he has to sit down, look at it very well, and be very mindful of the principality within the commission. I will say it again. There are certain forces within the commission that will come to him as though they are advising probably, but probably working on behalf of people outside the commission. Because the commission is not what it used to be, about 10 years ago. The commission now is a commission that is driven by influences, and people think that by working for people who are outside the government, who have some level of influence and power, could probably earn them resident electoral commissioner, national commissioner, all sort of position after they have served their 35 years in office. So the critical point today is that the INEC chairman must look at the crisis within all the political parties, look at judgments that are before him, and then study it and come to a logical conclusion, a legal conclusion of why this judgment has been been stalled by those who have managed the commission over the period of time.
Let me go to Lagos now. I know Ayo has a question for you.
I find it a little comical. I don't know if you think so as well. When political parties say that it is the ruling party that is responsible for their woes, I don't recall hearing such, previously until this administration came into play. Now, so do you see any validity in that? Or you think that maybe it's just one of the challenges of the entire political class, and perhaps also the absence of political ideology, strong enough political ideology to which politicians, the political class individually can commit to? We didn't have that as much in the First Republic, nor did we have so much of that in the Second Republic, not even in the Third Republic. So what do you make of that?
As long as we continue to have this perception that there's a level of influence where those in power can stretch their hand, and the electoral umpire will conduct election in the way that favors their interest, we will continue to have this challenge of political ideology. Because no matter how strong an ideology is entrenched in someone's sense of judgment, it comes to a point where you know that you are going to an election that there's no equal level playing field, there's no free and fair processes, and then what do? You then look at what they call, people want to do the first law of nature, to be able to protect self. So, but naturally, our challenge also basically is the fact that the INEC as a body is totally under the authority of the executive. If you look at Section 133, the INEC is created under federal executive body. It's part of the federal executive bodies. And if you look at the appointment at Section 155 or Section 1C, where those who have, whose bodies are created under Section 133 get the appointment.
It has always been like that.
In the process.
Just a second, I apologize for cutting in. It's always been like that. I don't know if there was ever a time in our democratic experiments, since the First Republic, the Second Republic, the Third Republic, that we didn't have the INEC chairman or the electoral body coming under some kind of authority to get their jobs done. So why is this republic different? Is it because this is the longest run we have ever had?
The more we head on to this, the longest run, and the more we head on to the Fourth Republic, you discover, I'm trying to get to a point here. What you see today is that nobody will tell you that the people in government are not interfering with political parties. Because when you hear them speak, if you hear Agbabio speak, you say, oh, you don't have a party. If you hear Wike speak, you don't have a party. So there's a lot of issues that goes on within the commission and that affects the still running of the opposition across Nigeria. Because during the PDP, I've been here for quite a while when it comes to party management. You have some level of space for multi-party democracy to thrive, and there was a less accusation. Even when people say, "Oh, you are trying to stiffen opposition," that's a normal statement. But the fact that this deliberate attempt to run a one-party state became very obvious under the President Muhammadu Buhari regime, and it was obvious to a point that you see that parties, even some parties, had to go to pledge allegiance. It is critical clear that today we have a challenge with how the parties are not free. the parties don't have the level of the kind of protection under the law by the commission that they should have. You see there are a lot of other parties who I don't want to mention them because most of them are my friends. They will get judgment and then even attempt to commit the chairman to prison, and the judgment will not even be honored. The disrespect for judicial pronouncement by the commission is on the high side. So there's no way anybody, whether sitting outside or those who are in power, will deny the fact that today there's this strong twist arm, process by people in power to undermine the opposition. You can see the governor of Plateau State just spoke and talked about how there have been so much pressure on him to move to APC. Even when the Akwa Ibom governor was to move, there was a leaked video by a journalist from your station, and it went viral when he said that he's not even sure whether he will contest the election and the judiciary will come and take the election for him. So these are the challenges of our democracy right now, and it takes a lot of a committed hand and those who are interested in making sure the right thing is done, especially what the commission will do. Because it's not just about perception, it's about our reality today. That the commission in various ways have worked with, because when you send your hard dog staff, when you send your principal staff, and they involve themselves in how to rig election, look at what happened in Ogun State. The lady was caught with the ID card of the commission and all other staff, and even in Kaduna State. There are a lot of issues like that. If we want to cure Nigeria of these malfeasance, we must be able to say the truth. There are a lot of record of INEC officials involving themselves in manipulating the elections and also undermining the party, multi-party democracy, and also helping the opposition, helping the people in power to weaken the opposition's strength. So this is not something that is hidden. For me, I'm seeing commitment on the side of the opposition for once to put aside their interests, for once in every of the parties, not just one party, but no matter how you want to define the party, especially for the PDP and other parties, to put aside their interests and make sure that we survive this Fourth Republic Act and do whatever it takes and take away to put aside our ego to make sure that we have a process, and the commission must come to a convention, take out his checklist, because they usually come to a convention with checklists. Oh, did you meet up the 2/3 requirement of those who have to come from the state for as member, delegate, the statutory delegate to the National Convention? Do you meet up the delegate for the ad hoc delegate? All these other checklists that the commission comes with must be done in a transparent process. When we are talking about transparent election, the most important part is for us to have transparent primaries and convention.
Well, I want to believe that the new INEC chairman will be having engagements as quickly as possible, and I'm sure that you'll be going with your checklist for him. But we have to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning, Mr. Peter Ahmed, the General Secretary of the CUPP and also the former National Secretary of IPAC, speaking with us here now. But just to you, thank you once more.
Thank you.
Well, that's where we'll wrap it up this beautiful Monday morning. Thank you so much for being a part of our program. I'm Maokwe Ogunyusu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful and productive rest of your day. Business Morning is next.